So I'm going to turn this on medium speed. On this mixer, that's speed 5. On your mixer, it may be different, but don't turn it on high speed. I'm going to mix this until the egg whites are foamy or frothy, like the head of a beer. Like if you went to a bar and had a beer, they would dispense the beer and there would be a foam on the top. That usually happens really quickly, and at that point I'm going to stream in the sugar. The 4 ounces of sugar, I'm going to add that sugar like rain. Don't rush this. Don't turn the mixer off. We have room temperature whites, 1/4 of the total sugar, and I'm being patient on medium speed. I'm adding the sugar like rain. And now you're going to leave the mixer running. While the mixer's running, I'm going to bring this syrup up to 240 degrees. So, because I pulled it off the heat, the temperature dropped briefly, but you can see that it takes very little time for it to recover and to continue to climb. So I am going to take this to the soft ball stage, which is 240 degrees. If you don't need to wash down the sides again, this will happen very quickly. I am trying not to touch the bottom of the pot with the thermometer, and every once in a while I'm just giving it a little bit of a stir. We're just about there. $237, $238, $240. So I'm going to pull that off the heat, and now my egg whites look great, and I'm going to try not to hit the whip. So it's okay to run the syrup down the side of the bowl. The most important part is don't hit the whip. So those egg whites were raw, unpasteurized, but I poured a hot syrup on top, and that hot syrup is now pasteurizing the eggs. So I'm coming to just check on the meringue. The syrup has been poured on it, and it's been mixing for about 4 or 5 minutes, and it's actually a beautiful soft peak meringue. So right now what I've made is Italian meringue. I could just mix it a little stiffer and just use it like that. This is a soft peak. But I'm going to turn it into buttercream. But it's too hot right now. If I add my butter, the butter's going to melt. So you can see that it's 120 degrees, which is way too warm to add butter to. So we're going to let this whip until it drops to 90 degrees, approximately 90 degrees. At that point, we'll start adding the butter. Okay. The mixer's been mixing for about 10 minutes to cool down. Got a nice firm meringue. Stays in the bowl, it's very firm. And then we're going to take the temp here, try to position it so you can read it. Not sure if you can read it there. Got a 91. Just for time here, I'm going to, got 91. I am going to put it back on the mixer and then start adding the butter. So 90 is a good guide. So I'll put this back on the mixer. Back on medium speed. And I'm bringing over my butter. Okay, you see my butter? And actually, I'm just going to turn this off so you can hear me, because when the mixer's going, it's difficult to hear. The butter is not shiny. If your butter is shiny, that's an indication that it's too soft. We don't want it to be soft. This butter is firm, but if I press, I can push it. The butter should not be soft and shiny. It should be in the mid to low 60s. (62 degrees). Probably a few of them are warmer. The ones on the outside there, 66 degrees. That's a good guide. You do not want to have warm butter. Butter in the mid to lower 60s is great. So now I'm going to turn my mixer back on and I'm going to start throwing in the butter. I'm not going to do it too quickly, but I don't have to do it too slowly either. So I'm kind of visualizing where half is. And I'm going to throw in half of the butter, and then I'm going to stop and scrape it down. Again, this is all on medium speed. So that is about half the butter. It went in there very quickly. Now I am going to, just want to make sure that you can see, I'm going to scrape. You see, I didn't really have to scrape before now when I was making the meringue. It's very soft right now after having added that butter, but it's got a wonderful light texture. So I want to make sure that I get all the way to the bottom, that little dimple that's in the bowl. Okay, I'm going to put that back on, mix it, and then add the rest of my butter. You can see once I get about 3/4 of the way through the butter, the meringue starts to take on a buttercream-like consistency. It starts to hold a shape. I'm just going to use the scraper in case I have any more butter left on the paper. going to turn that down so I can add the vanilla. And the vanilla is 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm going to scale that right over the top. And then I need 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. If you don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon, you can use 1/4 teaspoon and then just cut it in half. I'm using table salt. If you use kosher salt, you'll need to use twice as much if you're measuring. So if you look at this buttercream now, it looks a little bit broken, which is normal. The butter was cool, and the meringue was a little cool. So one benefit of seeing a demo is you'll be able to see the difference as we mix this. So seeing it curdled like this is a normal part of the process. Just push through. And almost immediately, once I return it after I've scraped it down, and I return it to the mixer, almost immediately the breaking, the looking like it's curdled or the breaking goes away, and it becomes more recognizable as buttercream. It's almost there. You can see that the breaking is almost gone. Again, the butter was cool, so it's not unusual to have that breaking, but if you let the butter get too warm before you throw it in, then you can have problems with the buttercream just being soft and soupy because the butter has melted. So I'm just trying to show you best practices here. So I'm going to mix it one more time. And you can actually hear it now. I'm assuming you can hear it on the video. It's actually slapping. Once it gets to that slapping sound, that's usually an indicator that it's close to done. So this buttercream here is done. It's beautiful, ready to put on a cake. Depending on the temperature of your refrigerator, the temperature of your kitchen, you may have to beat it longer if the kitchen is very cold. But this is beautiful buttercream, meringue style buttercream, Italian meringue buttercream. It will keep in your refrigerator for several weeks in a Tupperware or something. Don't beat it right when it comes out of the refrigerator or it will break. Butter doesn't beat well when it's cold. Take it out of the refrigerator, let it come to room temperature, and then mix it. It'll also keep frozen for 3 to 6 months. For me, the easiest way to freeze it is to put it in a Ziploc bag, a thin Ziploc bag, so you can pull it out and let it thaw very easily. So, there you have Italian meringue buttercream.